Hello, a very good morning and welcome along to round 4 of the 2022 MotoGP eSport Championship. It's great to be with you in this slightly different hour to what we're accustomed to, but as you wait for the action to get underway for the Japanese Grand Prix, myself and Jack will try and keep you company over the next hour or so. And if you are tuning in for MotoGP eSport action for the very first time, first of all, where have you been? And second of all, strap yourselves in, because we can offer some pretty good action.
Yeah, certainly going to be plenty of action coming up for you tonight then. Round 4 we are on now of the 2022 Global Series. 2 cracking races coming up for you with Motegi and then also Buriram. And recently there's been a real swing in championship momentum. Last time out, Christian MM17 taking a fantastic double win. Jack, it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out tonight. But before we dive into the rest of the action tonight, let's make sure we rewind back to round 3 of the 2022 Global Series and just run you through everything that happened last time out.
So as Jack said, it was without doubt the Christian MM17 show last time out at round 3 of the 2022 Global Series. There was action aplenty, as we promised, with the 2020 World Champion Adrian making an uncharacteristic error during our race at Jerez. Jackhammer and the reigning World Champion Trast went toe-to-toe, shoulder-to-shoulder throughout it. But this was the man that everyone was talking about. A first win in over 2 years from pole position, and then we headed to the Red Bull Ring where he once again fired away from pole.
Yep, just like London buses then, 2 came along at once. Got the perfect start and led pretty much the whole way. Trastevere was fighting through from, I believe, 8th on the grid in the end. That was a dramatic moment for Piero Ricciuti, running strongly in second, and then that race, well, it pretty much exploded his race from that point. I think he finished all the way down in around 7th in the end. Jackhammer also had a little slip off as he crashed out of a strong position, but coming across the line, it was Christian MM17 to take an emphatic double win.
And as you said, Jack, that really saw a momentum swing in the championship going into it. Our 2021 king, should I say. Trast was taking a pretty dominant lead in the championship, but 2 poor qualifying performances and 2 sort of below average results means that it's tightened up at the top. Just look at that. Our 3 all-time champions are there. Trast, a 3-time winner. Severi on the Suzuki this year, our 2019 king, and Adrian, the 2020 winner, split by just 4.5 points. We've now only 4 races remaining. Christian back in contention, 12.5 adrift. He's going to have to try and conjure up some of that form from last time out to get himself back into contention, with both Jackhammer and Piero Ricciuti needing, well, I think it's fair to say, a bit of a miracle to get back into title contention, Jack.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly going to be keeping my eyes on Christian MM17 this evening, and as we know, for race 7 coming up very, very shortly indeed, he's got the perfect setup, certainly, going from pole position, as you'll find out very, very shortly indeed. But for now then, it is time to start turning our attentions to race 7, the first one of the evening here for round 4 of the 2022 Global Series. And before we dive in, we'll just need to run you through all of the crucial info that you need to know as we head to the Buriram circuit in Thailand. So then, here we go, race info for race number 7 of the 2022 Global Series. It is indeed going to be Buriram in Thailand. It's certainly going to be a tricky one. One of the faster tracks we have on the calendar, but also there are some dead stop hairpins in there and some tight little nadery sections as we go through sectors 2 and 3 of the circuit. You can see here then the rules that you need to know. Of course, they're always the same as ever, but the things you need to look out for: tyre and fuel consumption going to be proportionate, and also collisions on as well. So watch out for bumping and barging as we head through turn 1. So then, we're ready to go in Thailand. Going to be dry, it's going to be hot, and it certainly is going to be a tricky one indeed. 4.6 kilometres in length, 7 right turns, not so many left ones here. It is quite a clockwise track, but 5 of those, some of them crucial. You think through turn 10, the final run down to get towards that dead stop hairpin at the end. Watch out for that one. It's going to be a crucial one. 2019, Marc Marquez and Fabio Quartararo went head-to-head there, where Marc wrapped up his 8th title. And it's going to be interesting indeed to see just how this plays out.
It certainly is, yeah, as you mentioned there, Jack. So many overtaking opportunities in Thailand. Of course, we've not been here since 2019 in real life. We'll be heading there very shortly in real life, but it's time for these virtual gamers, these eSport gamers, to tackle the Buriram circuit. Keep your eye on the final corner, the opening corner, and as Jack mentioned, that run down to that dead stop hairpin, especially on the first lap. It's probably going to be pretty chaotic. Here we go then, race 7 of the 2022 Global Series about to get underway. Let's go racing at the Chang International Circuit in Buriram. Hello and welcome along then to race 7 of 10 in the 2022 Global Series. It's time to get down to business at the Chang International Circuit in Buriram. And what a grid we've got lined up for this one, Jack. It's going to be the main man, Christian MM17, trying to go for a hat-trick of wins from pole position, with his brother Adrian keeping a close watch in second. Rounding out that front row of the grid, the Suzuki of Severin.
And the big hitters don't stop there. Then Piero Ricciuti lines up in 4th on his factory Ducati. And there is Trastevere, slightly better qualifying than last time out, but still 5th is not where he'll want to be. In 6th, shout out to this man Vindex, a solid qualifier once again in 6th.
Struggling this weekend so far, Jack Hammer, front row number 3. Behind him, Spada Longo in the VR46 machine and the Aprilia of Davide Gallia.
And then rounding us out, it will be Tati Go on the Crescini Racing Ducati in 10th. 11th is our newcomer last time out, Umas Drew. He qualifies 11th for this one. And completing the grid, it is the Australian Mr. T on the Pramac Ducati.
So here we go then, round 4 of the 2022 Global Series about to get underway. Hull shots have been engaged, the lights are out, and away we go in Buriram. And for the 3rd time in a row, it is a dynamite start from pole position by Christian MM17. Meanwhile behind, there's some moving, there's some shaking between this man or Trast. A big wheelie, he loses a lot of drive and drops down to 7th as a result. Meanwhile at the front, it looks like Adriana's managed to pick the pocket. Severi's so far out of control, down he goes, braking way too late, and the Suzuki man is out on the opening lap.
Incredible drama then. That is Andrea Severi in the grabber. Looked as though he was braking on the rumble strip and just got it out of control. Incidentally, look at that, Piero Ricciuti up into 2nd place. Great start then from the Ducati man. It was actually a really, really good launch off the line from Trastevere, but I think he just went in a little bit deep through turn 1, got on to the curb on the outside and just lost all that drive that he had. So a great start from 5th all the way up to 3rd, and now he's dropped back down to 6th.
I'd love to know what happened to Christian as well, Jack, because he got the perfect start and looked like the perfect drive out of the opening corner, and then suddenly we flicked back to see Trastevere having his troubles, and when we got back to the front, it was Adrian ahead of him, so maybe he's lost a bit of drive somewhere, getting on the rumble strip potentially. But unfortunately, the man looking for 3 wins in a row finds himself down in 3rd.
Tell you what though, the man that we haven't even spoke about yet, the guy on the VR46 Ducati, Spada Longo, up from 8th to 4th. I saw him dive up the inside at turn 1. I think he actually nailed Piero Ricciuti in the side. Piero Ricciuti goes for the lead then. So we didn't see this coming. The Ducati man hits the front, but how long will he hold on to it? He's run wide through turn 1. Adrian on the Honda has got through.
Trast has gone down.
To 9th. What happened?
He's gone down. The World Championship leader, or erstwhile World Championship leader, has gone down, and now for a 2nd time as he tries to rejoin the track, he comes into contact with Umas Drew. Oh, what drama on this 2nd lap of 10 here in Buriram. The 3-time king making a mistake, crashing out and dropping right to the back of the pack.
So this is going to have huge connotations then in the championship. You can see there he's already lost that championship lead. He was 4 ahead of Adrian coming into this. He's now going to be 6 behind, a 10-point swing. What drama in race 7 of the 2022 Global Series.
Can you believe it? Trast making an error. We didn't see the crash. I'm sure we'll get a replay imminently to see what happened exactly. But that is what can happen when you qualify further down on the grid. You don't make a good start. It was bogged down to 7th at one point. You can, and I'm not saying this has happened, get caught up in another rider's incident. Meanwhile, no such problems at the front for Adrian. Now 0.4 of a second clear after Piero Ricciuti managed to edge his way in front, but only momentarily. Christian, however, just struggling to find his rhythm here. We're so used to particularly from round 3, see him hit the front and just check out. But unfortunately, for his sake anyway, he's not going all his own way this time around.
So fastest lap then for Adrian coming across the line that time round, 26.5. We have seen them do laps quicker than that in qualifying practice and also free practices before this. So certainly there's a bit more pace left in it, and that will be music to the ears of Christian MM17, because we've seen him put in some seriously fast laps into the low 26s. So we know there's the pace there for him to come surging through. We'll have to see how it plays out in the remaining 7.5 laps.
Every time through turn 3, they're braking so late and running it so deep. I'm thinking they're going to go wide and someone will be able to sneak up through the inside.
Piero's deep there.
Having to, yeah. Mistake from Ricciuti. Mistake from Ricciuti. Surely Christian will be able to swing through. No, not on this occasion. That will, of course, be a track limits warning for Ricciuti, but he's got away with one there.
Certainly has. It looked as though it just dragged in Christian as well. Just braking a little bit too late. Saw Piero go in and just sucked him into the corner too. But we're seeing now that that gap at the front has opened up to 0.7 of a second. And I've got to admit, that is what we call a comfortable buffer in MotoGP eSport. Anything plus half a second, that is manageable. So Adrian, all the chips are falling his way at the moment.
So far, so good, as you say, for the Repsol Honda man. But things could change here. If Christian is able to get himself in front of Ricciuti, could well start to chase down his brother at the front. It would be a Montenegro sandwich at the moment, with Ricciuti filling in the middle, but we could see a Montenegro 1-2 if he's able to find a way through. At the back of the pack, though, there's your championship leader, or as we said, erstwhile championship leader. Here's what happened then. On the brakes into the opening corner. He's a little bit heavy onto the green stuff. The rear wheel just losing traction as he went over the curb. Down he went as he's rejoined the track, straight into the way of Mastru, and that just has rubbed some salt into the wounds. And he went down a third time.
Oh,
can you believe it? 3 crashes in a row. That is a total disaster for Trast. 3 crashes in the space of 20 seconds. He is dead last, and as a result will, without doubt now, lose the championship lead.
So we have to say then that is a complete loss of composure from, well, the largely unflappable man in MotoGP eSport series. Trastevere then, this one really has fallen apart, and his championship lead is no more. Christian MM17 then still going about his work on Piero Ricciuti at the front. That gap at the front has actually stabilised. Piero's got back into it after a couple of mistakes. 8 tenths back then from Adrian. Looks as though he's not going to be able to do too much about the Honda man. So really his focus has to be on keeping clean and making sure that he doesn't give Christian an opportunity to pounce. Coming through turn 1 then, firing onto this very long straight here in Buriram. We've seen so many times, even in qualifying, we saw these guys behind each other getting a large slipstream and pulling in a tenth or two. Look at that, Christian, by the time he gets down to this bottom turn 2 and 3, he is closing in rapidly. And I tell you what, Piero's got a bit of a slipstream there as well. That gap's down to just about 5 or 6 tenths.
Meanwhile, let's have a look further down the field. Vindex has now got himself in front of Spadalongo, who, regardless, is still having a great ride to be up inside the top 5. Strong performance actually coming from Mr. T as well in 6th. Tatigo 7th, Davide Galina 8th, and then these guys are not where we expected to see them. Mistakes coming from all of them. I actually didn't see Jack Hammer's crash pop up, but he must have had an off somewhere to be behind Andrea Severi, who of course went down on that opening lap. Then Mastru and Trast a long way adrift in 11th and 12th following their coming together. There's Spadalongo we saw momentarily, having a good ride, keeping tabs as well with Vindex. Mr. T going well, the Australian, as close to home soil as we will get to throughout this championship. Of course, we're not heading to Phillip Island in a 2022 Global Series. There's Davide Galina, and this could be oh so important in the championship. You see Severi behind there, closing in on Galina, and then Tatigo, and then Mr. T. There's still plenty of time left in this race. We've only just reached half race distance. If he can pick up 2 or 3 positions.
Crash. Yep. Look at that, on the curbs. That's braking there at 200 mile an hour as they hit the brakes there, and he's on the curbs, and that is never going to work out. Goes all the way through the gravel trap to the barrier. Thankfully, of course, there's no damage done. But Andrea Severi, as you do say, Jack, closing in rapidly on Davide Galina on that Aprilia. And you got to say, what's the gaps there in front of him? 9 tenths and 2 tenths. If he can make up a couple of positions, maybe nip up into this top 6, with Trastevere down in 12th and really not going to make any more progress than that, it's not a bad damage limitation job.
Yeah, if he can get himself in front of Mr. T, at the moment in 9th, he'll be scoring 3.5 points. If he was to get up to 6, he would score 5 points. Those extra 1.5 points, it might sound minuscule, but you never know.
Everything.
You never know come the end of the season just how important that could be. We've seen, even with double points at the final round in previous years, this championship being decided by the smallest of margins. At the front though, still all going to plan for Adrian. He is 3/4 of a second clear of Piero Ricciuti, and the Ducati man actually has responded quite well here. He's now got, what, 3 or 4 bike lengths, a comfort buffer, shall we say, over Christian MM17 in 3rd. We'll keep a close eye on Severi here to see if he can manage to close the gap to Trast in this championship fight. First, he's got to try and get ahead of Davide Galina, who himself, the Aprilia man, looking for a way through on Tati Go there, but can't get the job done. Back at the front though, and still Adrian leading the way.
Yeah, doing the job here. Adrian, we said about that comfortable buffer, anything over half a second, and it's just to-ing and fro-ing from somewhere around half a second to up towards 3/4 of a second. So certainly Adrian doing exactly what he needs to do to hold Piero Ricciuti at bay at the moment. And even Christian MM17, I thought we'd maybe see a little... Oh, Tati Go's gone down out of a good position. That's a shame. He was running strongly in 7th, but what that does do is it gives Andrea Severi a position. Now, actually, he's nipped in front of Davide Galina as well. So that's big progress then for Andrea Severi. He's going to pick up a handful more points.
Just one.
So, 1 or 2 positions gained?
Two positions gained. Normally 2 points, but half points means just the 1.
True. So, well, sadness, but also progress. Let's put it like that. Look at this, 4 tenths under. Here we go. This could be something. If Piero Ricciuti can get into this slipstream zone, we've got 2 mammoth straights coming up here after turn 1. You might just be able to get close enough to pounce.
Here we go. Come on, Piero. Let's see if we can close in on the rear wheel. I know. Let's see if we can have ourselves a bit of a ding-dong in the closing stages of this one. It's been too easy for my liking for Adrian so far, not to take anything away from his efforts. It's been a perfect ride so far, getting the better of his brother on that opening lap and hasn't looked back since then, but suddenly that gap now is as close as it has been all race long. Is the rear wheel, the rear tyre, should I say, of that Repsol Honda just not help. Starting to fade. A mistake there, so that's another 10th in favour of the Ducati man. This could build into quite the crescendo.
Great time to come on board here with Christian, staring at these two closing together as we dive into the last 2.5 laps. Incredibly tricky section of the track, this one in particular. So easy to run in too fast. You see there Piero getting it really stopped nice and slow through the middle of the corner to make sure he can get it fired out. And this gap now is hovering around that 4-tenth margin. We see even now coming down into 3.5 tenths. It seems to time to cue the Jaws music because the wild child is on the way.
Certainly is. The wild child is there. He's lurking in the background.
He's gone deep there. That's not going to help.
That is a bit of a mistake. Compromised his exit, that's for sure. And look at the gap grow now. He'll surely be up to half a second shortly. Yeah, just about. Just ticks over there. So that's a costly error from Ricciuti there. And he doesn't get the right drive out of the opening corner. This long run through turn 2, which is there. Not really a corner, more of just a little left-hand kink before we go towards turn 3.
Ooh, Adrian in a little bit deep there. But gets a nice slingshot run onto this second straight that we've got here in Buriram. Certainly one of the few tracks in MotoGP where these MotoGP bikes can really stretch their legs. But now, as you say, Jack, a couple of mistakes and that gap is back up to 8 tenths now for Piero Ricciuti. And all of a sudden, he's actually under pressure rather than putting the pressure on. Once again, he goes wide. So Piero Ricciuti, just a little bit of composure starting to go away as we come into crunch time in this race with a lap and a half to go.
You can be guaranteed that Christian's eyes are lighting up here. He can smell second place. He can smell a brotherly 1-2 here in Buriram. But time is running out. Only 1.5 laps to go for the LCR man to try and find a way through on Ricciuti.
Contender watch then as we just look down a little bit further into the pack. Andrea Severi is only 4 tenths behind Mr. T. If he can get that final 6th place, that'll be absolutely crucial. But here we go then, back to concentrating at the front. 1 lap to go. We fly onto it now. Adrian surely has it in the bag, but Piero Ricciuti is under all kinds of pressure.
Ricciuti goes defensive, he tries to cover it off on the inside, just about makes the apex there through the opening corner, but Christian is right with him. Surely he's going to have a look on the brakes into turn 3. There he goes, looking to the inside, and there he goes, flying past the Ducati man, both as hard on the brakes as you can imagine, but no way through. What defence from Ricciuti, brilliant stuff from the Ducati rider.
That is 1 big place then, fended off brilliantly by Ricciuti. He's got it hooked up and driving out down turn 3, down towards this slingshot turn 4. Incredibly crucial, he doesn't go too wide here and get it onto the rumble strip. He doesn't. So that's another place where he hasn't lost any time. And if anything, he's starting to put some pressure on Adrian, making him sweat for this final half of a lap.
Can you believe it? Look at this. He's got rid of Christian MM17. He's shaken off the attention of one Spaniard, and he's now got his clutches in on the Spaniard ahead of him. Surely he's not going to be able to magic something up in this final half a lap here. It is half a second. It's surely going to be comfortable for Adrian, but it's not comfortable enough for him to stop concentrating just yet. Look at the glare in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. He's into the final sector now, running down towards the final corner. Surely he's got it in the bag. Just 1 corner to go for the Repsol Honda man. There he goes. An important performance for Adrian. His 3rd win of the year, and with it comes the championship lead. Ricciuti has to settle for 2nd, with Christian's dreams of a hat-trick dashed here in Buriram. A podium, nevertheless, for the LCR man. Vindex in 4th, and a first ever eSports top 5 for Spadalongo.
Congratulations then to Spadalongo and Vindex, 2 fantastic rides behind some of the big 3 in this championship. Trastevere comes across the line in 11th then. He doesn't finish last in this race. He picks up 11th for another half a point, I do believe. So if my maths is correct, it'll be 7.5 back at the end of this one, race 7. But we'll just wait for the race director to approve the results, and here they go then. So there you are. Adrian, win number 3 of 2022. He had to sweat a little bit, but in the end it was comfortable ahead of Piero Ricciuti. Christian MM17 gave it a big push on the final lap, but couldn't quite get ahead of the Ducati. Vindex 4th and Spadalongo 5th. That surely is a personal best for those 2. Congratulations. Andrea Severi, fantastic damage limitation there to come back through from 9th to 6th in the last couple of laps. From Jack Hammer, Davide Galigna, Mr. T, Tati Go, the big story Trastevere finishing 29 seconds off the lead and losing the championship lead. And you, Mastru, rounds us out in 12th place.
And for the first time since our opening race of 10 in 2022, we have a change in the championship lead. Trastevere throwing away his advantage, with Adrian, our race winner, now taking over control in the title picture. Let's speak with him now. A 3rd win of the season, Adrian, and I imagine you're going to say your most important one yet. Retaking the championship lead. Talk us through that eventful race.
Yes, hello everyone. The race was very difficult because Piero was behind all laps, 0.6, 0.5, 0.4. So it was very difficult to be focused and to keep a good pace. But I am very happy with this victory because there are some important points for the champions. But now we have another difficult race in Motegi, and I hope to repeat a good race.
Well, big congratulations, a hugely important win in our 2022 championship fight. You now jump to the top of the standings. He came into this one, Jack, 3rd overall, with Severi managing to sneak ahead of him. How things have changed now as we see these dramatic moments in Buriram. There's the first crash, there's number 2, and imminently we'll see number 3. Can you believe it? 3 crashes in the space of 20 seconds. See our championship leader, or erstwhile as we've said, our 3-time champion, come across the line in 11th and throw away his advantage.
Yeah, certainly a very, very important race then for the championship picture. You can see there down the bottom right, and this is the way it was, and that is the way it will be pretty much. We thought on the last lap that Christian might just sneak through on Piero Ricciuti, but no, it wasn't to be in the end. And for a minute there as well, we thought that Piero was going to put some pressure on Adrian, but no, that wasn't either. And he did indeed come across the line for a fantastic victory. So crossing the line then, the third race victory of the season. Congratulations to Adrian. Certainly, as you say, Jack, quite rightly, the most important of his 2022 campaign so far. But that is now in the past, done and dusted. We've got to move on to Motegi, haven't we?
It certainly is. We've seen him make mistakes in this championship fight on occasion so far this year. Jerez springs to mind, so Adrian knows he'll have to be at full focus for our upcoming race at Motegi. I think we can officially say we're kickstarting the Japanese Grand Prix weekend. This is the first track action of the weekend. Let's just firstly bring you up to speed with all of the key information you're going to need ahead of this one.
So Motegi then, a very particular track indeed. One that tests, well, both rider and machine to the absolute limit. But of course, you can see there the rules. It is indeed race 8. Heading to Motegi for the first time in quite some time. Of course, in real life, we haven't been there for 3 years. 2019 was the last time. You can see there the rules, as always, the exact same. And in terms for the circuit itself, well, it's quite a tricky one indeed. Not actually too short, to be fair. Motegi is quite long. 4.9 kilometres it was, with 8 right turns and 6 left. Fairly even with its construction, and we've seen in history many great battles around Motegi. You can see there some of the big talking points, of course, at the end of the back straight. That huge drop down, huge dead stop, 90-degree right-hander. That is going to be one of the key overtaking areas. And even coming into that final flip-flop, it's a very tricky section indeed. And we've got to watch out for them trying a cheeky last-minute, last-lap lunge manoeuvre just in there.
So here we go then. Who's going to be able to carry all of the momentum into our grand finale, the double point showdown in Valencia? This is it, race 8 of 10 in the 2022 Global Series. Let's get your Japanese Grand Prix weekend officially underway by going racing at Motegi. Here we go then, it's time to go racing for one final time today at the Twin Ring Motegi. This is going to be action-packed. I can just feel it in the pit of my stomach, Jack. I've got butterflies thinking about this one, and it will be the wild child Ricciuti to fire away from pole position. A new championship leader, Adrian, on the middle of the front row of the grid, with Christian looking to bounce back from third.
Speaking of looking to bounce back, Jack Hamill will be wanting a second better performance here in this second race of the evening. And there's another man that needs to bounce back. Trastevere, after that disastrous outing in the first race, he heads off from 5th, ahead of Andrea Severi on the Suzuki in 6th.
Front in row 3 of the grid is Vindex on the With You RNF Yamaha Spadalongo. Fresh from a career best result, will start 8th, and Tatigo on the Gresini Ducati fires away from 9th.
There's Davide Galigna in 10th on the Aprilia. Watch out for him making exuberant starts on the first lap. Mr. T in 11th, and rounding us out in 12th, it is Yu Mastru on the Tech 3 KTM.
Here we go then, 10 laps ahead of us around Motegi. Ricciuti on the Ducati will fire away from pole position now. And it's a good start as well, but not as good as Adrian and Christian as well. Both Hondas able to fire through and take first and second. He's nudged wide, is Ricciuti, and he misses out big time. The pole man drops from first to third in the blink of an eye.
Trastevere then hasn't made up any ground, but hasn't lost any either, so certainly not too bad. Not a disaster off the line for the Yamaha man. Looks as though Andrea Severi is going to look up the inside of the pole man. Piero Ricciuti going backwards already, but the dream start then for the Montenegro brothers. Adrian first, Christian second.
This is absolutely the dream start for Adrian. He's just taken over at the top of the championship, and now he's hit the front nice and early here in Motegi, and he's got his brother almost acting as a bodyguard behind him to keep his championship rivals
Tati
at
goes
bay.
on the grass.
Oh, disaster for the Gresini man. He's going to drop to the back of the pack. Got it all wrong there. So Tatigo back down to 12th as a result.
Yeah, Ricciuti's up to second.
He is. He's managed to squeeze through. Just as we were looking at Tati go and seeing what happened with him, the Ducati man has pounced, and suddenly Adrian's bodyguard has been disposed of. But he's going to run wide. Mistake from Ricciuti. He's going to hand second place back to Christian. Is he? The pair are side by side. Remember, it is equal machinery here, so he can't rely on Ducati power. Down in towards the bottom of the back straight for the very first time. Such a difficult braking zone, but it looks as though our key contenders have made it through a-okay.
So then it's all back in. Oh, look at this. Trastevere is going to look for an opportunistic move. Andrea Severi, he runs across the curb on the inside. That allows the Yamaha man to get the drive. Fantastic then. Trastevere up to 4th, and look at Jackhammer 2 trying to pounce on the Suzuki. Can't quite do it, or maybe he does it now. Has Andrea gone in a little bit deep? Possibly, but no, just going to be able to sweep it around the outside and hang on. So look at this already then. Adrian almost 8/10 clear. This is almost an exact carbon copy of the scenario we had in race 7 earlier on.
It's an impressive start from Adrian. Sorry, I'm just losing my voice a little bit there. The excitement has got to me. Meanwhile, Trast, as you rightly said, Jack, through to 4th place, but he's going to need more than that. He cannot afford for Adrian to stretch out this championship lead even further. I mean, at the moment, just looking at it, big look up the inside, but no way through. At the moment, it will be another 6 points that Adrian is able to stretch out that championship lead by if things stay as they are. It's a total disaster for Trast. Came into this one leading the championship after a plucky performance at our last round, despite 2 disappointing qualifying grid slots. Ooh, can he find his way through to 3rd? No, he can't, despite Christian's mistake. And now suddenly, he's almost throwing away that championship. 4 titles looks like a stretch at the moment for Trast if he can't find something special here in the table.
Well, this is a big race, this for Trast, because so far in the last 3 or 4 races in this 2022 Global Series, we've seen Trast hasn't really had the pace of the top guys at the front. He's been struggling to rival the likes of Christian, Adrian, Piero Ricciuti, and even Andrea Severi on the Suzuki as well. So Trastevere, he's got to bite back and show these guys that he is the champ, he is the king, and this one is going to be his for the taking.
And off of Index there, that's a shame. He's been having a solid run of results of late as the Rising Stars 2-time champion, now getting his first go full-time in a Global Series. But despite that crash, clearly there's been some comings together further down the field because he still settles into 7th spot. He's actually not lost any positions there at all. Meanwhile, here's what the championship looks like then if things were to stay as they are. And Adrian would hold a commanding 11.5 point advantage over Trast heading to our series finale. But remember, of course, double points on offer in Valencia, meaning that pretty much any of those top 4 guys, if they go out and do the double in Valencia, the championship is theirs because there'll be 20-point swing going in their favour. So it's regardless of what anyone else is able to do. That'll be the key message, I'm sure, from the teams back at base. Go out there, focus on yourself. If you win both races in Valencia, the championship will be yours. So there are no excuses for Adrian, Trast, Severi and Christian if things stay just like that before the checker flag comes out.
Tell you what, Jack, we may not have a battle for the lead, but look at this. From Piero Ricciuti, 0.4 back to Christian, 0.3 back to Trastevere, 0.2 back to Severi, and then only half a second back to Jackhammer as well. So from 2nd to 6th, we've got a train of riders here, and these are the big 6 that we've spoken about all season long, and they're proving why we call them that so far.
And I tell you what, Adrian is proving why he was a world champion as well. 3 victories to his name so far. He's looking like he's on course for a 4th one here. This is one of the most dominant rides I've seen so far this year, Jack. We've only completed 3 laps. We're on lap 4 of 10, and he's already a 1.5 clear, half a second a lap. He's absolutely mullering everyone else at the moment.
Yeah, well, we know that Honda own the Motegi circuit here in Japan, so certainly doing them a favour in their own backyard right now. Of Adrian looking on to go and pick up his 2nd race win of the evening and drag himself to an 11.5 point championship lead. I tell you what though, that 2nd Honda, the LCR Honda of Christian MM17, is starting to look busy. Piero Ricciuti, if he wasn't already under pressure, he definitely is now. And look at that, speaking about pressure, that's as close close as it can get, really. Andrea Severi constantly on that rear tyre of the Yamaha M1 in front of it.
On lap 4 of 10 here around Motegi, and Adrian at the front has checked out. It looks as though we've got ourselves a fight for second at the moment, which is a surprise. Very, very unusual for someone to have this kind of dominance in MotoGP eSport as we focus in on our reigning world champion. Trask into 4th at the moment, but he's got the pretty difficult job here of looking forwards at Christian and trying to find a way through, but also keeping an eye over his shoulder with Severi closing in at a rapid rate. It looks as though he's found a good run through the final corner here, and we could have some moves into the opening corner. Here we go, we're going to track Trask all the way down to turn 1. He looks to the inside. Did fancy it for a second, but eventually thought better of it. But
deep,
Christian goes wide though. We'll cut it back. Make sure that he swings right in front of the front wheel of Trask behind him, and he just about holds on, and it's no surprise that Trask has been able to close in on Christian there. He's just set the fastest lap of the race last time around, a 1:40.777.
Yeah, so Trask then flying quite literally, 777. He's a big Airbus coming through. So, certainly Trask Severi then, he's got the bit between his teeth. But as we do say, look at this now, he's under a 10th. Surely he's going to try and move up the inside here, or maybe not. I was having flashbacks to 2010 there, Valentino Rossi and Jorge Lorenzo, but doesn't quite look like he's going to be able to go for it. This is the one thing with Motegi that's always so tricky. As soon as you get out of one corner and you get going a little bit, get a bit of a run on the rider ahead of you, you're back on the brakes. There's no real time to kind of build your momentum and get alongside them to try and dive down the inside. It's a very, very tricky and technical track, this, and one that if you're going to make a move, it often requires a mistake, just like that. Christian then, just as I was about to say, goes wide, does get a better run coming out of the hairpin there. Rushing now down the hill towards turn 11. Trask Severi's going to have the better line. He can just squeeze Christian there to the outside, which he does. Fantastic. Can he get it stopped? No, he doesn't. He goes wide himself. So here we go then, heading towards the final flip-flop. Is he going to drop it over his nose? No, he cuts back under. Fantastic racecraft there from Christian. Is he going to hold on to it? I believe he is. Fantastic stuff from the LCR Honda back.
Wow, incredible. In the space of, what was that, 5 corners, they swapped position 4 or 5 times. Incredible between Christian and Trask. And it's not done there as well, because here comes Severi. Mistake from Trask, ever so slightly wide. And the Suzuki man doesn't need a second invitation. And suddenly, the world champion dropped from 3rd to 5th in the space of 3 corners. It's turning into a disaster day for Trask as the championship seemingly slips through his fingers.
And this is that trait of Motegi playing out. 1 second you're the hunter, the next you become the hunted, and that is exactly what happened with Trask there. Picked off just as he was trying to pick Christian off himself.
Incredible stuff. I cannot believe how much those guys swapped and changed there. First, let's just recap. Christian, the mistake into turn 10, Trask pouncing on that. But then Trask on the run down to 11, ran ever so wide. They were side by side as we flicked through 12 and 13, and then suddenly out to the final corner, Severi managed to get a good drive, and he was able to pounce on another small, uncalculated error from Trask to drop him down to 5th. Wow, what a series of corners that was. And I think we're not done yet either. Out to the final corner then. Oh, sorry, down onto the back straight, should I say.
Here we go.
Here comes Trask. He's looking to make amends here of 1 lap ago. This is where he lost 3rd spot, and now he's looking to gain 1 spot. He's going to have to push Severi wide. I think he's got it done. Has he got his nose in front? No, he doesn't. Severi fires back through. He has the inside line, and he makes good use of it, but he's going to be so compromised there out to the final corner. An opportunity now surely for Trask to bounce back and bite back into the opening corner. Can he look through? No, he can't.
Oh, has he gone deep? Surely he's gone deep there.
He has. There goes Trask. The Yamaha M1 squeezes through, and again they're at it. Shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow, on the drive up towards turn 3 and 4, and Severi looks to have it under control for now, but he's wide again! He's wide again, and surely now he's going to throw it away. Yes, he does. He gives 1 place to Trask, and Jack Hammer fancies getting in on the act as well. Severi will hold the inside line as we run down towards turn 5 here, and hopefully He can now hold on to 5th at the bare minimum because he's got Jackhammer all of a sudden swarming over his rear wheel.
Well, I was about to say there, fantastic work from Andrea Severi to withstand the pressure, not crack underneath it, but he does. We thought he'd had it done and fended off the attack there from Trask, but one final mistake was enough to seal the deal. And now all of a sudden he's got a pesky Red Bull KTM looking every which way, up the inside, round the outside. Just go through him, Jack. Go on. You've got to bust the issue in eSport. It seems as though he isn't. Oh, mistake from Trastaveri then. He slipped back once again. Another mistake here. This is incredible. As soon as we think one person's got it all under control, nipped up through into 4th place, the other makes a mistake again.
Well, the usually unflappable Italian is flapping all over the place today, crashing 3 times in Buriram.
Here he goes.
And countless errors here in Motegi. He's a little bit wide there, and Jackhammer will be fancying that he can squeeze in front now as well. Can you believe it? What has he had for breakfast? Because whatever he has had, make sure that he doesn't have it for breakfast when we get to Valencia, and that is probably one of the worst analogies that I've ever had, but still, let's run with it.
Well, we'll have to find out what he has had for breakfast in case it is that, but certainly this round 4 in the Global Series then, it is the keystone to Trastaveri's championship, falling apart if it does so happen to turn out like that at the end of round 5 in Valencia. Looks like he's gone in deep again there, just a fraction, so allows Jackhammer to close up a fraction more. Look at that Jackhammer leaning into the TV there. He's certainly getting close, getting keen. He can smell a 5th place. It's just right in front of him.
Oh, it's great to see these guys concentrating and just watching Jackhammer instead of the action, just to see if Trask was to make a mistake, if his eyes do light up. I'm sure
it might get a little bit wider.
Yeah, I'm sure the whites of his pupils will start glowing in that morning sunlight. Back in the UK, Jackhammer, of course, flying the flag for Great Britain here in the MotoGP eSport Series.
He's gone deep. There's a mistake.
Yeah, and he glances. He has a sly look to his left-hand side, and I'm sure he'll be tutting under his breath at making a costly mistake there. It's just allowed Trask to pull ever so slightly clear. It was under a 10th of a second, but it's now 3/10 that gap. Back at the front, though, as everything is going off behind, with riders swapping and changing corner after corner, lap after lap. There are no such problems for this man.
No, faultless out front, absolutely metronomic, no errors at all. We've seen him maintain that gap of around 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 the whole race. As soon as he got through to the front, well, he was at the front straight away, and he just hasn't been able to give them any sort of hope that they would be able to close him down. Of course, there we see Piero Ricciuti. He withstood the pressure from Christian so far. Half a second back, you'd have to say that it's too far for Christian to make a lunge. And as we saw in the last race, though, Christian on that last lap just turned the wick up to 11 and put in a final charge, but couldn't quite get there. Can he do it again this time round and make it stick?
Here's Trask, the world champion. For how long? That is an interesting question, and one we'll get an answer to on Friday evening in Valencia. Make sure you join us for the grand finale. As we've said, double points on offer. And the championship will swing one way or the other. You don't want to miss that. Friday evening, as we said, at the Valencian Grand Prix. We'll see you there. The bright lights of the Global Series Arena return in 2022. Severi, though, is not looking forward to booking any flights to Valencia just yet, because he's got 1.5 laps to go to try and hold off a world champion behind him and a fired up Red Bull KTM rider as well. So far so good though for Severi. He's managed to eke out enough of an advantage here for it to be a fairly comfortable final lap if he's able to hit all of his markers and make sure that it's a mistakeless final lap. Ricciuti, the same goes for him as well. Victory is definitely out of contention now as we come out of the final corner for the penultimate time. He will be looking over his shoulder. Already going defensive there is Ricciuti. He's not going to leave anything to chance. 2/10. That gap has closed up, and look, visibly as well.
Once again.
There. He is with him. And I tell you what, if there's just the slightest of openings, he's going to be firing that RC213V through it.
Yeah, so just like last time then, Christian is on the hunt in this final lap. And you have to say as well, quick shout out to Piero Ricciuti, because this is probably his most solid round so far in 2022. We thought he'd be one of these guys that was contending for race wins every single time in 2022, but it hasn't quite ruled out to be that way. But here tonight, in round 4, he's done much better indeed. But you have to say the biggest thing, we all thought that maybe Christian MM17 would be the headline once again at this round 4. But indeed, it is his brother, and it just goes to show that we never should have questioned whether he was going to be able to pull it out of the bag or not.
Yeah, there's something in the water in the Montenegro household at the moment. Double victory for Christian at round 3, and now we're just half a lap away from a double victory for Adrian at round number 4. Yep, it's been a solo speed show from Adrian. He's pulled clear on that opening lap. And
did you hear that?
has not looked
big sigh of
yet.
relief there.
I don't know if that was a sigh of relief or just one last nervous intake of breath to try and get through this final sector. Here we are then into turns 12, 13 and 14. He's got 12 done, he's got 13 done, and he's now got 14 done. What a performance! It's double delight for Adrian as he carries all of the momentum in towards our season finale in Valencia. A commanding win, a commanding championship lead. It's all gone his way tonight.
Into the hot seat then goes Adrian. A fantastic performance just when he needs to. He's hit the ground running. Fantastic stuff then. We all thought that it was maybe going to be the LCR Honda that would steal the headlines, but no. Piero Ricciuti takes second ahead of the aforementioned LCR Honda rider, Christian. You have to say Andrea Severi as well can't be too disappointed with his evening's work after some damage limitation in the first race, and a solid fourth there. But there you see it then. Double victory confirmed for Adrian. Not quite the fastest lap, but he just beat them with consistency there. Piero Ricciuti second, Christian MM17 third, Andrea Severi. And the big talking point is Trastavere once again misses out on a podium. He's at 4 races without a podium now. When was the last time we said that about Trastavere, the 3-time champ? Jack Hammer comes across in 6th, Vindex Davide Linea, Spada Longo, Umastru, Mr. T and Tati Go rounding us out. We've only got 2 races left. We'll see you in Valencia for them.
Double delight then for Adrian here at round 4 of the 2022 Global Series. Now a 12.5 championship advantage. Going the way of the Repsol Honda man as we head to Valencia for our season finale. Double points, so everything up for grabs as we mentioned in the race there. Those top 4 guys all know if they win both races at the last round, the championship will be theirs. But before we speak about that, let's give Adrian his moment in the sunshine. A double win, Adrian. A much needed double win as well. Now 4 for the season. Just how good does that one feel?
Yes, thank you. The race was that I wanted. I wanted to start and to be first in the first corner and try to make a gap, because I know in this track it's very difficult to be in group. And fortunately for me, I could do it, and I am very happy with the victory again, because another some point for the championship. But now I know that the last races in Valencia with double points will be very important. But it's very important to be first in the last round. So I am very happy, and see you in Valencia.
Yeah, we'll see you there, mate. Can't wait. And I just wonder, Jack, if we may well be sharing a glass of Prosecco with that man in Valencia in a month or so's time. Now, without doubt, the big favourite heading to Valencia. And you'd have to be a brave man to bet against him, not wrapping up a second title if he can pull 2 performances out of the bag like we just saw in Motegi. That was some ride. Yeah,
it really was some ride. You just saw there. I mean, well, he said it perfectly himself. He said it was difficult to win a race in the pack here around Motegi, and of course alluding to the amount of mistakes that it was so easy to make around this track. We saw mistakes from Trastavere, Andrea Severi, Christian, and also Jack Hammer as well, as those guys battled for those positions in the top 5 or 6. But out front, of course, Adrian, with that perfect start, rocket ship start, got the whole shot and just never ever looked back.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. It was brilliant action further back as well. We just saw a glimpse of it there. Trast, Christian, Severi swapping and changing as often as you like it, with Jack Hammer trying to get in on the act as well in the closing stages. But it was all about this man, a 2-second lead as he came across the line. Dominance from Adrian to take a double win here tonight. So before we leave you then, let's take a look at the championship standings. Only one round to go. I know we've mentioned it a lot, but double points on offer in case you weren't listening, just to add a little bit of extra spice into the mix. Which means, despite Adrian leading the way, any of those top 4 men, Adrian, Trast, Severin or Christian, can wrap up this 2022 Global Series by going out and winning both races in Valencia. 17 points splitting our top 4, Jack.
Yeah, very close indeed. As you do say, those double points just make everything that little bit easier to be within reach. It's going to be very interesting indeed as we go down to those final 2 races. But really the key is going to be all about qualifying. We've seen there, and we've seen so many times throughout this series this year, that if you qualify on those front 2 rows, you are on for a much better race than those qualifying on the 3rd and 4th row that we've seen so many times.
There we go. Sorry, my Siri, my watch is just getting involved there. She's clearly enjoyed this morning's racing, as have I, as have Jack. Thank you very much to Jack for doing a brilliant job. As always, all the guys back in Barcelona as well for doing an excellent job. And thanks to all of you at home as well for tuning in for this round 4 of the 2022 Global Series. I hope you enjoy the Japanese Grand Prix, which is coming your way very shortly. And as we've said, do not miss our season finale in Valencia. Double points on offer Friday night in Valencia. Fireworks, glitz, glamour. What more could you want? We'll see you there.